When it comes to EVs' environmental performance, the questions that we hear a lot are, do they really save CO2, and if so, how much? What about the resource use, particularly the resources used to make the batteries, and what happens to the batteries at the end of their lives? So this video is going to focus on those key questions. EVs are not CO2 free. There's CO2 associated with the production of the vehicles and production of the batteries, and of course there's CO2 associated with electricity production, the electricity that fuels the vehicles throughout their lifetime. But overall, EVs save a vast amount of CO2 compared to the petrol and diesel alternatives. A lot of work goes into the studies that allow us to say that with confidence through a field called life cycle analysis. And really the key reference at the moment in the UK is a big report that came out at the end of 2021 under a contract for DFT, and that calculates that EVs save around 65% of greenhouse gas emissions relative to petrol at the moment with today's electricity generation mix. And as the grid electricity becomes ever greener over the years, that saving relative to petrol is expected to increase to 76% by 2030 and up to 81% by 2050. So of course the details of the CO2 or greenhouse gas emissions for any one individual will come down to the details. What make and model of vehicles are you considering? What's your annual mileage, etc. But overall, there's no question about it. EVs save a lot of greenhouse gas emissions relative to petrol and diesel. In terms of resource use, producing EVs does require a lot more of various metals compared to petrol or diesel. Lithium is the obvious one in the lithium-ion batteries, but also cobalt, nickel, manganese. And it's not just in the batteries, in the magnets within the motors as well. In all cases, there are abundant global resources, so it's not exactly a question of using up and exhausting finite global reserves. But there is, however, a question mark as to whether supply will keep up with demand over the coming years. And the issue, of course, is that sales of EVs have taken off at such a pace in recent years that the industry supplying the materials is, to some extent, in some cases, struggling to keep up. Lithium is found in many countries of the world, with some of the biggest suppliers being Argentina, Chile, China and Australia. And certainly there are many reports of local issues associated with lithium production, whether it's to do with land use change or water contamination. But without being at all dismissive of local concerns, it's probably fair to say that the scale of those various local issues are really not in the same league as the very major environmental benefits in terms of climate change that the use of EVs can bring. Most of the world's cobalt supplies come from the Democratic Republic of Congo, and the big issue there is not so much environmental but social. It's a question of concerning working conditions. There are initiatives by various NGOs, government and businesses to try to ensure more responsible supply chains, and clearly that is what needs to happen quite urgently. There is also a new type of lithium-ion battery, relatively new, called LFP, lithium iron phosphate, and that doesn't use so much of these the metals which are scarce. So perhaps that will help with this whole issue of resource supply. But LFP batteries are not as energy dense as other lithium-ion batteries, so it remains to be seen just how widespread they will become.